welcome to our service in honor of Adele Lucas. And I'm sure the family is overwhelmed by the fact that there are at this point 56 devices that are queued into this service, which means that there are way more people than 56 because there's several people in each one of these. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love somebody. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage and, in the fullness of time, healing and peace. I'm going to begin by sharing my screen and sharing with you a wonderful video that was made by Max. We're going to begin with a prayer that is from our tradition, from the Psalms. Adonai Ma'adam. God, who is the human being that you have any time or attention for us? And Cantor Bob will chant that for us.
Adonai Ma'adam B'tedoehu Ben Enosh V'tchashvehu Adam lo hever dama Yamav Ketzel over Ba'boker yatzit v'chalav Lo erev yilmad v'yavesh Tashev enosh ad daka V'tomer shuva v'nei Adam.
And the Lord is my shepherd, Psalm 23. If you'd recite it with me, but please keep yourself muted, otherwise it'll sound like very cacophonous. The Lord is my shepherd, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And some modern prayers give us comfort as well. Birth is a beginning. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. And life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. And this is by Leah Goldberg, in a conversation that I had with Lori the other day, where she said she starts resembling her mother. I thought this one might be appropriate. My mother's mother died in the spring of her days, and her daughter did not remember her face. Her portrait, engraved upon my grandfather's heart, was erased from the world of images after his death. Only her mirror remained in the home, sunken with age into the silver frame. And I, her pale granddaughter who does not resemble her, look into it today as into a pool which conceals its treasures beneath the waters. Very deep, behind my face, I see a young woman, pink-cheeked, smiling, and a wig on her head. She puts an elongated earring on her earlobe, threading it through a tiny hole in the dainty flesh of her ear. Very deep behind my face, the bright goldness of her eyes sends out rays, and the mirror carries on the tradition of the family that she was very beautiful. And this piece by Alden Solovey, I'm sorry, this is not Alden Solovey, this is actually Robin Fox, I'm sorry. It's called For the Last Time. How do you know the last time to ask when it's the last time? How are you? How was your day? The last time to say I love you. Good night. Sweet dreams. You don't. And so you must reach out with love and compassion at every opportunity to show those who love you that you care, you love, and need to be needed. In a world where you suddenly find yourself alone once again, in an achingly painful way because someone you love has left you behind to seek your own paths and truths in an uncertain place. The only thing is that you're not truly alone because of those who do love you. And for that, be thankful and grateful and feel blessed that you were able to say, good night, I love you, one last time. And this is Alden Solovey, Blessings Now a River. And one day, you will be gone. Simple as that. Gone. A blank space, the flow of life filling the spot where you once were. Or could it be that the love once held within you will finally be free? That your old container, now broken, will no longer bind you? That your blessings, now a river, will flow freely? That your sacred spirit will fill the universe? And on that day, you will be here. More here than ever. Simple as that. Here unbounded, as unimaginable as infinity, as radiant as light, a holy space most present in this sacred place, here where hearts dwell. And now I'd like to invite Lori to read a poem. So please unmute yourself, Lori.
First of all, thank you everyone for tuning in to this tribute for my mom. I had a few strange moments today where I thought everybody was coming to the house, and I was wondering if everything was clean enough. Then I remembered, oh, it's online, but Mom would be thrilled at the turnout. And from what you saw on the slideshow, she would only have wished she could be dressed in a gorgeous outfit for her close-up. To help deal with my grief, I found solace in this poem by Robert Frost. It's called Nothing Gold Can Stay. Nothing gold can stay. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay.
Adele Lucas was born in Auburn, New York on November 18th, 1926, the fifth child to parents Samuel and Bertha Goldman. Her father was born in Poland at the time of the Tsar, and to escape being conscripted, his mother dressed him as a girl and snuck him out. And to escape being conscripted, his mother dressed him as a girl and snuck him out. As a result, he was extremely grateful to the U.S., and in celebration of his life being saved here, he named his men's clothing store Liberty. Adele's mother was born in Utica, New York, making Adele a very proud third-generation American. Adele was very pampered as a child, as she was almost the youngest. She graduated from Ohio State University in 1948 with a BA in home economics. Or, to put it in her own words, she majored in boys, and more boys. She planned to be a nursery school teacher, but then met Murray at a party during the summer of '48. Adele was there with another date, but Murray saw her and immediately called to ask her out. Adele told her mother she didn't want to go out with him because he laughed too much. Her mother responded, as any good Jewish mother would, "You don't have to marry him just to go out with him." Of course, by the middle of the summer, Adele said she knew she loved him. Murray's booming laugh and his sense of humor, of course, became two of his most endearing qualities. They settled in Syracuse and started a family. Though Adele did not become a nursery school teacher, she sort of had a nursery school at home with her 4 children, Lori, Bonnie, Gary, and Stuart. Adele made sure they had every possible lesson: piano, swimming, art, dance, theater, anything that might enrich them. She was also very active in the PTA. As you could see from the lovely video made by her grandson Max, Adele was a beautiful woman with a great body. In fact, she was known as the most beautiful of the Goldman cousins, of which she had many. Appearance was very important to her, and she was always dressed to the nines. In fact, she was a clothes horse who loved to shop. Even when she lost her sight, she would go shopping with Lori, who had once covered fashion, and have Lori describe the fabrics and the colors of the outfits to her. "See, this has epaulettes. This is made of silk." Adele never saw herself as elderly, and just about to the very end, she had her hair done on a regular basis, wore pearl earrings, and refused to wear sweatpants. You know, those pants with elastics, until she turned 90. Adele was a good friend, and she kept the same friends that she had met when she was 21 years old. They continued to connect with each other for 70 years, even when they were scattered in nursing homes across the country. She also made new friends very easily, as she was so charming. She had a knack for attracting devoted young friends as well. They looked to her for guidance on their career and on their clothes. She also made friends with every one of her doctors because she really cared about them and was curious about their lives, remembering the names of their children as well as their dogs, for she loved dogs. Even though initially Adele was not such a great cook, she evolved into a wonderful cook, hosting dinner parties. She also became a wonderful baker, specializing in her mother's brownies. In fact, she was featured with her 4 children and these brownies in the Syracuse Post-Standard. She could also crochet and knit. Adele and Murray traveled the world, beginning with their honeymoon in Bermuda. They traveled all over Europe, China, Russia, Thailand, the Panama Canal. Of course, Europe was Adele's favorite as she loved the great shopping there. She also loved the museums and the theater. And the Lucases visited New York very frequently to take in the exhibits and the shows. She loved Broadway, The Pajama Game, The King and I, The Music Man, My Fair Lady, The Most Happy Fella. And she adored operas. Indeed, she and Murray attended opera all over the world. And she even named her last dog, whom she adored, Verdi, in honor of the composer. She also loved classical music. And as you saw, Max's video features the music from one of Adele's favorite composers, Vivaldi. Adele was a big supporter of the arts in Syracuse. She was also a tireless volunteer, delivering Meals on Wheels to seniors, working in a hospital gift shop, stuffing envelopes, doing whatever needed to be done. Indeed, she earned the title of Volunteer of the Year for all her efforts. Adele was fiercely independent until she was hit by a car recently. When I used to visit her, I was always so impressed by her intelligence, her perceptiveness, and her deep interest in politics. And I believe that Ezra, her son-in-law, will speak a little more about that. So, Ezra?
Thank you, Rabbi. Adele was not only a generous and kind person, she was also, I better get myself on camera here. She was also a formidable person. And this is kind of a short little eulogy I have here that maybe will show some of that. As sure as I'm reading this today, I know that I'm going to be hearing from Adele sometime over the next few months. The message may come in a dream. It may come in a crash of lightning and thunder. It may come, God forbid, in a robocall from Sierra Leone. And I know my answer already. No, Adele, I cannot send you an absentee ballot. After all, this is not Chicago. This is Riverside. If you'd like those oranges you love, maybe I can do something about that. I hope you're getting my point. The lady who loved babies, dogs, opera, travel, and the New York Times crossword took her politics seriously. William Tecumseh Sherman seriously. Maybe more so. I remember trying to offer her encouragement several months ago as she rallied from a fall and an infection. I told her she could still live to 100, but she was having none of it. No way, she said, do I want to live another 7 years. But if it were possible, I think she would have given those years to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And if I had told her she could live to 120, she would have been handing out years left and, well, just left, to favorites like Hillary, Adam Schiff, Barack Obama, and many others. I wish our temple had $1 for all the times she vowed to stop listening to the news because she was so discouraged by what was going on in Washington. Those vows lasted about the time of a commercial break. Adele and I didn't always see eye to eye on politics, but that was my fault. It isn't easy to look her in the eye when you disagree with her. So I say in closing, thank you, Adele, for teaching me that if you have values, there's no reason to be quiet about them, unless you're with your mother-in-law. Rabbi, you're muted again.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ezra. That was lovely. And Adele's niece, Gail, has a few words as well.
Ezra, that was wonderful. She would have loved that. Now, this is just called My Aunt Adele. My Aunt Adele was my mother's little sister, 8 years her junior. They shared a room in a large yet crowded house, and she was Mom's little shadow for years. She used to say that Mom was a second mother to her, and for years, as an adult, her friends thought my mother, whose hair turned gray when she was in her late 30s, was indeed Adele's mother. Looking back, I've thought that Mom's experiences with her sister had significant impact on how she raised me. The sisters were exceptionally close, talking by phone every day and seeing each other at least every Sunday back home in Auburn, except for one period when they did not speak. But I can't remember when that was, how long it went on, or even why it happened. An anomaly. A lot of things in the extended Goldman family went sideways and diagonally through siblings, great aunts and uncles, and grandparents. But somehow Aunt Adele and I developed a real relationship. In those days, the early 60s, in Syracuse, one walked to school. And between my house and junior high was her house on Carlton Drive. Every now and then I would stop on my way home and we would gab away for an hour or so while I scratched Fifi's, that's the poodle's, belly. Aunt Adele was very smart, very willful, a style maven, lover of ballet, opera, literature, theater, art, and even an early adopter of rock and roll. She was elegant, fastidious, and loved beautiful things. I think she was a tiger mom decades before that term came into existence. She loved her family and lived for her friends. I loved her and will miss her very much.
Thank you, Gail. I know various members of the Walker family would like to say some words. So should we start with Katie?
Sure. Thank you so much, Rabbi. I had the honor of meeting the family and Adele later in her life when she moved to Riverside. And she and I instantly hit it off, and we had a love together of Dancing with the Stars. And I would call her every Tuesday so we could gab and talk about the costumes and talk about the dancing and what we liked and what we didn't like. And I think was doing that for 8 or 10 years. I can't even remember where I started. And then when it became 2 nights, I called her on Wednesdays because we had to talk about Tuesday. And even when she lost her sight, she had me call her and I would explain the costumes. And then it got to be to a point where she just couldn't follow me and keep up with me when I was trying to describe the music or the costumes. But I still continued to call her every Tuesday night at 6:15 just to check in. And she really did love everything beautiful, whether that was flowers or beautiful clothes, jewelry, whatever it was. She did love the beauty in it. But she also loved the beauty in people. And she just tried to find the beauty in each one of us. And when I would call her and talk to her, she would remember what I had told her the week before, what was bothering me, what was going on, the stresses of my life, and she would ask me about them. And every time I tried to ask her how she was doing, what was going on, she refused to tell me. She refused to give me any more stress in my life. But one of the things that I will remember is bringing her in and out and bringing the contraband into the place where she was living there at the end and making everybody wildly jealous because of the smells of the hamburgers and the french fries. But I will also always remember her smile and her grace and her dignity and for her always being there for me. So thank you so much for letting me speak to you.
Thank you, Katie. Sharon and Franklin?
All right. Here we
Adele
are.
Lucas was born in Auburn, New York on November 18th,
Greetings from Philadelphia.
1926.
And my gratitude for
of
keeping
6
this on the
parents.
earlier side for those of us on the East Coast to participate.
The 5th child of 6 kids
So I
to
just wrote down a
parents
few notes
Samuel
on
and
thoughts
Bertha
on Adele.
Goldman.
Knowing
Her father was
Adele
born in
was a
Poland
gift.
at the time
I
of the
count myself
Tsar,
as one of the fortunate
and to
ones
escape
who
being
knew her.
conscripted.
Ever
His
since
mother
she and
dressed
Murray
him as a
moved
girl and
across the
snuck
way
him
from me
out.
16 years ago, my life was blessed. The two of them opened their home, their hearts, and their family with me, and we all became family. They found room in their hearts for me, my parents, my sister, Franklin, when he came on the scene, and she opened her heart to my children as well. She loved my children. Our eldest, Maayan, is named in honor of Murray, and in borrowing from the Sephardic tradition, our youngest, Yael Amalia, is named in honor of Adele. So the fabric of the Lucas family will be forever interwoven with that of the Kleins, and for this I'm deeply grateful. Adele shared the love of food, travel, and the arts with me. She and Murray played a pivotal role in my own Jewish journey. And in fact, we light a menorah every year that she shared with me, which was one that she had brought from Syracuse. And so we'll continue to use this each year and celebrate her at that particular season all year round, but it will be a joy to continue to use. I want to finish with just some simple story about how she engaged my children. Adele loved them, and they love her. She welcomed the little ones with goodies every time they visited, and she learned what was the favorite little snack for each of my children. Miraculously, it was carrots most of the time. They would be made happy with just some extra carrots and occasionally some cookies, some peanut butter cookies. And every time she saw them, she would say, "Do I love you this much?" And they would go, "No." "Do I love you this much?" "No." "Do I love you this much?" And the game would go on until she would throw her arms as wide to the greatest wingspan her petite frame would allow. And she'd say, "I love you this much." And they would run into her arms and hug her. Well, Adele, we love you that much too, and we will miss you.
Thank you, Sharon. I know that your dad, Jerry, is going to play some music or sing, but we're going to save that to the end of the tribute. So I would first like to open this up to anyone else who would like to say a few words, whether it's a cousin, a friend, a family member.
Little person say something.
Little person, wonderful.
Come here, come.
I'd like to say
What do you want to say?
words. Can you hear me? My name's Bobby Rudolph. I was married to one of Adele's second cousins, but they were not too far from being the same age. And I used to hear stories about Utica and how Mildred somebody made ice cream when they go down there, because that's where they went to visit the Rudolph family. And I do know that Adele's mother looked very much like my husband's mother, but they were aunt and niece. And anyways, I came knowing Adele, not because we were slightly related, it's just that we shared the same friend, and before long, we were all friends together. I was a little more on the athletic side, and of course Adele was such a good bridge player. I never played in their games, but we did many other things together, and I missed her when she left Syracuse. I did see her a few times in California, and I guess I became a little bit of a liberal because she got me reading the New York Times all the while. But anyways, I will miss her, and I loved her children, and I even tried to teach them to ski once, but that didn't work out. But anyways, I will miss her. She had a great personality and a good sense of witty humor, and Murray was one to give advice on business things to people, and my husband would listen to him a great deal. I will miss her. And that's all I can say, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have a young man named Boaz who has some things to say.
I want to say that this thing that always reminded me about her was every time she'd always have carrots, and I was so amazed that, like, even after the car accident and a disease she got in her leg, I was so, like, proud that she got better and she stayed alive.
That's so lovely. Thank you, Boaz.
Yeah. Something I remember about her is we used to go down to the little area. I think it was in wherever it was. It was a place where we would get donuts and we would play in the water features while Papa and Adele would talk.
Nice. Thank you, Mayan.
You want to say something? Yeah, do you want to say something?
Anna?
Done.
Yeah, she wasn't well, but you miss her, don't you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for your lovely comments.
Thank you.
Okay, would someone else like to say something?
I would.
Please.
I'm Adele's, a younger cousin of Adele's, 10, 12 years younger, something like that. And I don't remember a whole lot. I remember going to Syracuse a lot and buying jewelry. I certainly remember all those memories. I remember the kids when they were little because we went to the same camp together. But what I will always remember about Adele are the very intimate, authentic, open conversations that we had through the years, where she would share with me very openly both her politics and the depths of her feelings, you know, both the upside and the regrets and the sorrows. And I will always treasure that.
Thank you.
May I have something to say?
Please.
My name is Jeffrey Watson, and I had the distinct pleasure and privilege of taking care of Adele's dental needs. And we got to be really good friends. And I often reached out to her for advice on many other areas, and I miss her terribly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adele used to sit at a table outside of Ralph's with her adorable little dog. She knew everybody in and out of Ralph's and had so many friends, and it was just wonderful to see her there and talk a long time or briefly. Sometimes we'd sit down there, sometimes we would have to, busy and go by. But it was wonderful to see that she had so many friends that came and sat and talked with her. It was really delightful.
Thanks, Carolee.
I'd like to speak.
Please.
I've known Adele for the last 16 years of her life. She was just a wonderful friend. She's 17 years older than I was, but we had so much in common, and we would talk 3-4 times a week. She was very special. And one of the marvelous things we used to do together is we would take 1, 2, or 3, never 4, of our grandchildren out to lunch, and she treated each of them as individuals. She would get them to talk. She just knew how to bring out conversation in them. And when Sharon moved east, Adele never stopped being interested in them, and we always had really good conversations. She very seldom complained. I would have to pull it out of her how she was feeling. She was very upbeat, always, even when she was blinded. She was a real inspiration about growing old with grace and kindness. And I'm already missing her terribly. I keep wanting to call her, and of course I can't.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else before we move on to some music?
I'll say something. I'm Mary Pat, and I met Adele at Riverside Medical Clinic. I was one of her care providers for some of the years towards the end of her life, and she came to my office somewhat regularly for a while, and we became fast friends. And just listening to all of the it was that way for me too. She just took a deep interest in me and my family, and really cared. And I felt very close to her and always looked forward to her visits. And my office would run late because I just took whatever time she would allow to just catch up as much as we could. And I will miss that. I'm retired now and all that, but yeah, will be missed. She was just very special.
Thank you, Mary Pat. So, Jerry, would you like to grace us with some Irish music?
Well, this short song is titled "The Irish Blessing," and I sang it recently in January at Laura's older sister's funeral, and it expresses my feelings. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may he hold you in his hand. May God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Gary. Thank you so much. You know, one of the unfortunate things about the period of time we're living in right now is that we can't hug each other, which is so important when you're feeling bereft. On the other hand, how many times have we been able to get together? There's 61 devices that are plugged into this service, which means there are probably about 80 people at least. How often do we get 80 people together from all over the country to pay tribute to somebody? So that's the silver lining in the cloud that we're living in right now. We're going to continue with El Male Rachamim, which the cantor will chant, and then I'll read the English so everybody knows what it means.
Rabbi,
Yes.
could I say something before Bob starts?
Of course you can.
I see Jay and Rebecca up there on the top of my screen. And Jay, one of the cousins, Goldman cousins, was just terrific in bringing all the family together for this. And he's just a remarkable person. I didn't want him to get away without a little attention. When he comes out to California regularly, he managed to come in every time to see Adele from Los Angeles or San Diego. He's just a remarkable person, and we're blessed to have him in the family.
Well, that was worth interrupting for. And if he would say a word, we'll feature him on the screen. Can you say hello, and then you'll appear on the screen? Unless you're too shy.
He just wants to wave.
Just wants it. There you are. Okay, good to see you. Thank you for pulling everybody together. Okay.
El Male Rachamim Shochen B'Meramim Hametzeh Menecha Nechona Hametzeh Menecha Nechona תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אדל בת שמואל ובתיה שכל עולמה בגן עדן תמנוחתך אנא בעל הרחמים הסתיריה בסדר כנפיך לעולמים וצור בצור החיים את נשמתך אדוני הוא נחלתך ותנוח בשלום al mishkavach v'nomar Amen.
God of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure who shine in the brightness of the firmament, to the soul of our dear Adele, who is gone to her eternal rest. God of compassion, remember all her worthy deeds in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May God be her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us answer, Amen. And we continue with the Mourner's Kaddish, which is a sanctification of God's name, an affirmation of life and the way in which Adele is living through all of us, through our memories of her, through the ways in which we enact the values that she stood for. And please join me, but muted. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah. Ve'alma divrach yechutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei lechol beit Yisrael. V'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam l'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chilled winter, we remember her. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when the year ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick of heart, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now part of us as we remember her. And we're going to conclude with her son, Gary, playing a song by Gershwin, Love is Here to Stay. Thank you, Gary. That was lovely. So thank you all. Now there's so many people here to pay tribute to Adele. It's really beautiful. And I know everyone really appreciates that. So I'm going to unmute everybody and you guys can visit with each other.